Good afternoon, everybody. Wasn't planning on making a Sunday version of Raw Thoughts, but with everything going on in the Ethereum ecosystem, I decided to. No milk right now, still coffee. Had some yogurt this morning, probably a nice big glass of milk when we do Alternative Asset Weekly later tonight. But a lot of developments. So, over the past week, Ethereum went down by over 23%. Started the week out at 4,686. At the low, went down to 3,593. Personally, I was purchasing during the week. I purchased around the 4,000 level, 3,900 level. And yesterday I sent a tweet or a post, I keep saying tweet, after I purchased just under 3,800. And I felt that nothing that transpired should have impacted crypto markets. And when I look at what all transpired, I'm still very bullish on it, as I'm sure you heard on Amit's stream and on my stream last night. So I'm going to pull a few things up one by one and go through them. So originally, we got the post from President Trump that America would be imposing a 100% tariff on China over and above any tariff that they were currently paying. I addressed this in another video. I thought this was tit for tat. Let's bring up the next one that happened. And I am trying to figure out how to be more efficient with these, so please bear with me. All right, so the next one is we got breaking news last night while Amit and I were streaming that the Chinese Foreign Ministry issued a statement on rare earth controls, which is the impetus of the 100% tariff. And I'm not going to read this word by word, but they basically said in layman's terms that they are not trying to make the situation more difficult. And this was pretty much a comeback to the table plea. Obviously, we don't know what transpired, but we got some pretty big information from President Trump himself, and we saw some pretty big buys from Tom Lee's BMNR, which was very big. So President Trump came out, I believe today, and said, quote, "Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. President Donald J. Trump." Then, as Tanner reported, which I love because it means I don't have to scour through these things. I can just keep looking at his account. If you're not following Amit, if you're not following Tanner, please follow them. They provide really great in-depth research. So Tanner said, hopefully people saw through the political chest pounding and bought an overblown dip. Tom Lee's BMNR sure did. 480 million worth of Ethereum so far. And he is currently tracking the wallet and showing all of the inflows from the capital he is using to buy. So I'm really happy about all this. As I indicated when I called into Amit's show on Friday night, I said my three famous words when this stuff happens: I don't care, because I really don't. I didn't think that this was a situation to get worried about. I take a much longer time horizon on my investments. So it is easier for me to say that this doesn't necessarily bother me. I'm not a trader. I'm not a short-term investor. I'm not looking to flip Ethereum or BMNR. I'm building positions for the long term. And for my investment thesis, this doesn't change much. And here's why. When I go through all of the information about Ethereum and BMNR, the supply dynamics of Ethereum has it capped at 1.51%. And that's the issuance. Ethereum can issue 1.51% additional Ethereum on an annual basis, but they've only been averaging around 0.09%. Every transaction on the Ethereum blockchain requires a small form payment to process, which is called a gas fee, and that fluctuates. But every time there is a payment or a transaction, a very small piece of Ethereum is burned off. Now, when I look at stablecoins and when I look at tokenization, there's a real chance that those can make Ethereum deflationary. So Ethereum currently hosts over 767 billion in assets, which represents the largest total value store across any blockchain. And over 80% of tokenized assets currently exist within the Ethereum ecosystem, which includes 10.2 billion of non-stablecoin tokenized assets, such as treasuries, credit markets, and yield-bearing funds. This is all part of my investment thesis. Now, the reason that I am buying BMNR in addition to Ethereum is because they've gone from a specialized immersion cooled Bitcoin mining vehicle to a Ethereum treasury, and Tom Lee is leading the ship on that one. And the strategic pivot has led to many capital raises, just like the one we just saw. And Ethereum will be owned at a 5% rate by BMNR. Their goal is to acquire 5%. So by leveraging equity issuances to fund Ethereum purchases, BMNR is taking a page out of Michael Saylor's book strategy playbook, and they're going to be able to unlock a tremendous amount of staking yields and DeFi integrations to enhance shareholder value and become a network validator, which is very interesting. And I'm still very bullish on BMNR because it provides me indirect exposure to Ethereum in addition to my direct exposure. And it has the potential to trade at a very large premium to NAV in the future. And as a Ethereum treasury, BMNR can outperform direct Ethereum holdings as it would generate network effects from the underlying Ethereum through staking and creating scarcity in the marketplace. And when I think about staking, a lot of people can stake at a 3% rate, but BMNR also has the ability to restake and restake through DeFi, which I have no idea how to do. I don't even want to try it. And all of the income that BMNR is going to generate through staking and restaking is immediately accretive net income. They have very low overhead, and that can be used for many things in addition to buying more Ethereum, just from, think of it as a dividend coming in for them owning the asset. And then as validators, they can create network effects and generate more revenue from that. I'm very bullish. As we saw, once the news came out of China last night, the crypto markets within, I think, a couple of hours started to move back up. At least there was, and on Friday, a floor was put in a lot of things after the Q&A from the pharmaceutical, where President Trump pretty much more or less said that the reason that they put a November 1st tariff in is because he still planned on meeting with President Xi of China. And when I read into it, it just seemed more of the same, posturing for a deal on both sides. And the news out of China made it very bullish, and President Trump's post today just solidified it, where he said, don't worry about China. It's just like when he said, now's a great time to own equities, and then they announced deals and the market went haywire. And at the end of the day, if the scenario actually played out on rare earths, it's not, to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that much for Ethereum. It means more for semiconductor manufacturers in the SMH and NVIDIA and AMD and Intel, Broadcom. Ethereum, it doesn't really change the bull case. And when you have companies such as MasterCard, PayPal, and Shopify building their stablecoins on Ethereum's layer 2, and you think about how much transaction volume they have and all the other companies that are building on layer 2, the amount of volume that we're going to see in the future has the potential to seriously create a deflationary asset. And one of the biggest things that I am excited about is the Genius Act, because that gave a real pathway to legislation. And that's something that we haven't had before. So, what happened in the past couple of days to me does not mean much for the crypto markets. I am only invested in Ethereum and XRP. I actually do think at this point I have a little bit of Bitcoin. I don't think I have much, but I am focusing on Ethereum. It's up over 10% today, and it certainly bounced away well off the lows. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up a decent amount this week. And I think that Tom Lee is going to continue to buy. And I am in this for the long haul. I think this is going to be very interesting. And if I have an opportunity to buy more BMNR at a good price, I'm going to take it. I averaged down this week. I think I bought it 3 times during the week, and I bought it in the afternoon on Friday when it was going down also. And I had intentions of buying it again tomorrow. We'll see what happens if it's under my average price. But if it's around my average price, I'll probably still add, because I think that long term, this is an opportunity for me. I can't say that this is going to be an opportunity for anybody else, but I've done my research. Everybody should do their due diligence, but I think that BMNR is very interesting for the long term, especially if tokenization happens. I think that there is a whole world of real world assets that will be tokenized, turned into ETFs. I'm going to be talking more about that tonight with Alex Nostalgianomics on Alternative Asset Weekly. And that's it for now. Those are my raw thoughts on what happened with Ethereum BMNR and why I'm not worried and why I'm going to continue to buy. Have a good afternoon, everybody, and I'll see you tonight.